I come before you today, humbled and humiliated, to ask you for one thing. I want you to kill
Merab Dvalishvili. Piotr Yan is going to win. Piotr Yan is going to destroy Merab Dvalishvili at UFC 323, which is happening this Saturday. My picks and predictions video, 100% right edition, TM. If you want to skip and see all my predictions, go to the end of the video. I have them all at the side. We're going to start with the main event. Okay, as we always do. Merab Dvalishvili versus Piotr Yan 2, the rematch. Who is winning this fight? Piotr Yan fought with a broken hand in the first fight, and he still stuffed a lot of takedowns. Piotr Yan's good. He was robbed against Sean O'Malley. He was robbed in both of the Sterling fights. And since then, he's beat Song Yadong. He beat Figueiredo when he was still good as he came up to bantamweight. Then he beats Marcus McGee, who's on a long win streak, a rising contender. And now, the guy that legitimately beat him only did so because he fought with a broken hand. And everybody's picking Merab. But you know who is also picking Merab? Fucking me. Because Piotr Yan stands no chance. I hate to say it. I want to see him win. I want to see Piotr Yan victorious, man. He's such an entertaining fighter. And Merab isn't. Merab, the crotch-sniffing little gremlin that he is, this goblin man, is not entertaining to watch. I said it. Oh, but he's Georgian. He's not Dagestani. He's a Christian. I don't care about that. He's boring. And it's going to be a similar situation to the first fight. It doesn't matter if Yan was fighting with a broken hand or not. I don't know if that's trustworthy or not. People say shit all the time. People say that they're in pristine health and condition right before the fight. And then after the fight's done, oh, you know, I was fighting with a broken rib. My dick broke in round 2. You know, I was fighting with an erection and my fucking dick snapped. And like all these excuses. Merab is going to destroy Piotr Yan. It's not going to be close. It's not going to be close. We're going to have the first ever champion with 4 title fights in a single year. Now, what's 2026 going to look like for Merab? Because that's what I'm looking forward to. Can he actually do it again? Can he have another 4 title fights in 2026? Holy shit, can you imagine if he did that? Umar Nurmagomedov is now fighting Figgy, and I think that's going to be an easy win for Umar. Ayman Zahabi has already been talking about how he deserves the next title shot. I don't think he does, but based on the fact that Merab's already cleaning out the division, fine, just give it to Ayman Zahabi at that point. If Umar destroys Figgy, which he will, then you got to do the Umar rematch. Vinicius Oliveira is moving up. He's on a 3 or 4 fight win streak. They need to give him another fight in the top 10. We'll see what happens with him. I don't think a guy like Vinicius Oliveira will ever beat a guy like Merab, but, you know, there's some new names coming up. So, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm sad for my boy No Mercy Yan. I'm so sad. I love his trips. I love his boxing. Man, he really was robbed in that O'Malley fight. I watched it the other day. They had it on one of the UFC free fights. Dude, I thought he won every single round, if I'm being honest. Now, you know, O'Malley had his moments, but damn, that was bad. That was like Volkov gone bad. Horrible thing. The knee against Sterling, and then the second fight, I thought he beat Sterling too. But damn, man, he's going to lose. And that's just sad for the sport. We have too many crotch sniffers as champions. And Merab's going to continue being champion. But hey, I'm not a complete Merab hater. At least he's active. We have to acknowledge that. I love active champions. He's too active. And I have mentioned in my previous video, maybe there is an argument that you could be picking Petr Yan. And I don't give Petr Yan a 0% chance. I say this is a 10% chance. 90 to 10 in favor of Merab. Only on the basis that Merab, being 34, not super old, but not the prime age for a bantamweight, being at 34, being very active, not having a lot of time to yourself. You know, you fight 4 times a year. That's every 3 months. You're just training camp after training camp after training camp. He's the machine, but he's still a human. Okay? He's still a human being. I know he doesn't have kids. He doesn't have a wife to worry about. But still, he's good. And I'm just sticking with Merab Dvalishvili by unanimous decision. I don't think there's going to be a finish. Not a submission, and definitely not a knockout. Yeah. Merab's a decision goblin. Just because you submit Sean doesn't mean you're going to submit Petr Yan. Petr Yan's never been finished before either, I believe. I'd have to look back at his record, but I don't think he's been finished. Merab Dvalishvili, that's my final pick. We move on to the co-main event. Pantoja versus Joshua Van. I'm just going to stick with Pantoja. I remember at UFC 317, Topuria versus Oliveira, I picked Pantoja to go out there and submit Kai Kara France in round 3, I think it was. I can't remember if it was round 2 or round 3, but I remember I got the prediction right on. Like, I predicted it perfectly. And you can go rewatch that. It's like the first video of my channel's history. And I'm going to do it again. But this time I'm doing round 1 submission for Pantoja. It's going to be another situation, a grappler versus a striker. Joshua Van's a great boxer. That he is. Striking doesn't matter anymore in 2025. It's not going to matter in 2026. You need grappling. You need wrestling. And Pantoja is a backpack leech. He gets on your back, and I can see him getting on Joshua's back, and Joshua's not going to know what to do. Round 1, rear naked choke for Pantoja. It's as simple as that. Now, the youth, 24 years old as a flyweight, that is a big advantage. Big advantage. They're both 5'5", and you can go back to that face-off that they had in the octagon. Pantoja's probably actually a little taller now that I think about it, because he was barefoot in the octagon, where Joshua Van was wearing shoes. So Van's going to probably be like an inch shorter. Not that that's going to mean much. I mean, he was beating up Brandon Royval, who's really tall for a flyweight. And height doesn't really mean anything in these lower weight divisions. 35 years old for a flyweight in Pantoja. Like, that's the big thing. I watched the embedded videos, and you can see Pantoja's already got some gray hairs coming along in his beard. But he looks in great shape still. Ripped, in excellent shape. But I can't pick Joshua Van. I can't. Less reach, if these stats are to be believed, which they never are. But I do think Pantoja's longer. And, you know, Kai Kara France in that fight, he made him look small. And Kai Kara France has always been a big power puncher and knocks people out. Like what he did against Urseg. And Kai Kara France, I don't know what happened to him. He's out of the UFC rankings. So maybe he's gone. Don't know. But I'm just going to go with Pantoja. I think Pantoja's the easy pick. It's the safe pick. So yeah. He'll be 31-5. And remember, Joshua Van did get knocked out by Charles Johnson. So, not saying that Pantoja's going to knock him out, but it's going to be a submission. So yeah, I'm just going to stick with Pantoja. Round 1 submission. Next fight, another flyweight fight. Brandon Moreno versus Tatsuro Taira. Ongotewa Sochirowa Tatsuro Taira. Bonsai. Mexico versus Japan. Now, people are looking at this record, 17-1. Quite impressive, right? Wrong. Very wrong. A lot of these Japanese guys, and it's not just in MMA, but in boxing as well, they have like these really good records, but then you look and it's like, oh, because they only fight other Japanese guys. So yes, Tatsuro Taira is good for a Japanese person, but up against a Mexican like Brendan Moreno, who's very experienced and has fought elite competition, whereas Taira, the only elite competition he's faced is Brandon Royval, who is also Mexican, and he lost that fight, and it should have been unanimous decision. That shouldn't have been a split decision. Moreno, on the other hand, former champion. Look at all these championship fights. Okay, 4 of them were Figgy. But still, Kai Kara France. Remember, the liver kick against KKF. Do I think that Kai Kara France loses to a guy like Tatsuro Taira? Probably not. Split decision against Pantoja. Split against Royval. Destroys Amir Albazi. Makes it look easy. Wins every single round. Beats up Steve Ursig. Ursig's kind of bummy. But Albazi was like on a win streak. Before then, he actually beat Brandon Royval with a knockout. Beat Kai Kara France in the first. Like, there's great fights for Brandon Moreno. And Taira hasn't proved himself yet. And he's Japanese. He's East Asian. People are going to be mad about me saying that. But, like, Taira's last fight was Hyung-Sung Park, the South Korean guy who took the fight on very early notice. Made it look easy. I'm looking at his record. Yeah, he's fought some other Hispanics in there. He fought Perez. I think that was the one where Perez injured himself. People be mad about the East Asian stuff, but it's true. Japanese, Korean, Chinese, they're not that strong. And it, like, I guess it's the testosterone. They don't have as much testosterone. But I'm going to pick the Mexican over the Japanese guy. And don't say that I'm a social Darwinist. Don't say that I'm a eugenicist or whatever. Oh, what do you mean? You're not picking my Tatsuro Taira? Don't get mad on r/Asian masculinity and start attacking me. But I'm going to be proven right in this fight, in this pick. Brandon Moreno is going to beat Tatsuro Taira, and I think he's going to make it look easy. I think he's going to win every single round. Unanimous decision. Possibly a submission. Like, Moreno is a tall... Not Moreno. Royval. Brandon Royval. That fight with Taira. Brandon Royval is a tall, lanky flyweight, and he was dominating Taira on the ground with the grappling. Tall people that are skinny and have less muscle mass usually shouldn't be dominating with the grappling. Okay, Royval is a striker. And Moreno is actually decent on the ground. He submitted lots of guys on the ground. He submitted Figgy on the ground. I could see a situation where he could get a submission, but just to play it safe, I'm going for decision. Brandon Moreno is going to beat Tatsuro Taira, unanimous decision. And that's that. Next fight, I thought there was going to be flyweight too. No, bantamweight. Henry Cejudo versus Payton Talbot. Payton Talbot doesn't even have a picture. What's up with that? They need to change this flag too. Put it the rainbow flag. Yes! Queen Payton Talbot's fighting. Yes! Against Henry Cejudo, who's 38 years old. Mi little mexicano. Mi abuelito. Está 38. No mames, güey. Oye, Donald Trump. Donald Trump, por favor. No construir la pared. Necesito entrar a los Estados Unidos. Por favor, presidente. Tengo que comer mis chimichangas y mi chorizo. No mames, güey. He's gonna lose. This is his last fight, too. And I looked at the embedded. He just doesn't look in it anymore. I think he was with Eric Nixon. He was with one of those ginger trainers. And even the ginger trainer was like, yeah, this is his last one. I can't remember if it was Nixick or Wood. It's one of those two. They both look similar. Ginger beards. This is the end of the road for Cejudo. Should have never retired. And Payton Talbot, tall bantamweight. People were saying, well, you know, Payton Talbott got dominated with the grappling by Ione Barcelos. That's true. But he looked improved against Felipe Lima. And I think he's going to look even more improved against Henry Cejudo. Plus, again, 38 years old for a bantamweight. At that height, 5'4", little Mexican garden gnome, practicing his herbalism. Nah, it's over. It's over. I'm going with Payton Talbot. By decision. You know, by decision because I don't see him knocking out Cejudo. Cejudo's always had a chin. Mexicans do have the chin. I think it's all the corn from the tortillas that give them like stronger jaws, maybe. I think that's probably what it is. But, yeah. It's over for Cejudo. No, por favor, presidente, por favor, no construir pared, por favor. Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov. Jan Blachowicz is the favorite for this fight, I'm pretty sure. Now, I am picking Bogdan Guskov. I'm picking Bogdan Guskov because Jan Blachowicz is 1 or 2 months away from becoming a 43-year-old man. 43 years old. I know it's like the year of the youngs, and I'm talking about age. Like, I did it with Cejudo, and now I'm doing it again with Blachowicz. But a lot of these guys that are knocking these younger guys out in the year of the unks, it's like guys in their late 30s. We just saw what happened with Uros Medic and Muslim Salikov. And I picked Uros Medic because of Salikov's age. I think this is going to be another situation. An old 43-year-old man up against a rising, hungry contender in Guskov, who, yeah, he hasn't looked the best. He knocks out Nikita Krylov, who's washed. Before that, he had fights with Billy Elikana, who, you know, Billy Elikana, he's doing decent now. And it was short notice for Billy Elikana. I think he was going to fight at middleweight, I think. But then it was a short notice for him to move up to light heavyweight, so he wasn't prepared. But Billy Elikana, he's beating guys now, so I think that's going to be a win that ages very well for Guskov. Now, I know light heavyweights can last longer in the age department, and Jan does have nasty leg kicks. He's a well-rounded fighter, but you rewatch some of the fights that he's had, and he's got a lot of losses in his career, 11 losses. Like, seeing Glover Teixeira, who was also old at the time, just run through him like that with the grappling, taking him down, getting the back, just making him tap out so easily. Guskov is a decent grappler, and he's training with guys like Walter Walker in Russia, and he looks like a fucking orc. Something just tells me that the UFC wants a guy like Guskov to win. And so they're doing this matchup with Jan, who's still ranked pretty high up there in the division. I don't think Jan deserves that ranking. So, I just have a feeling that Guskov's going to win. And it's going to be by submission. In similar fashion to the Glover Teixeira fight. I know Guskov also got submitted by Volkan Oezdemir, I think in his debut. But, you know, Volkan Oezdemir, look what he just did against Menifeld. Look what he's done. Like, Oezdemir's got a lot of good wins. Okay, maybe not. Maybe knocking out Johnny Walker and Alonzo Menifeld isn't like the best comparison, but Oezdemir's a good gatekeeper. We'll say it at that. And it was early on for Guskov. And now he's looking decent. Prime contender. Passing of the guard. I think this is going to be it for Jan Blachowicz. He loses this one, he has to retire. I want to see him retired. So, that's that. Bogdan Guskov submission. This next fight, Grant Dawson versus Manuel Torres. This is the hardest fight to pick on the card, in my opinion. Both guys are rising prospects. They're looking good. But I'm going with the Mexican. I'm going with Manuel Torres. And I know Grant Dawson has beaten Rafa Garcia before, who's also Mexican. But Rafa Garcia is a little shorter, and he's stockier, and he got picked apart by the taller, rangier striker. They're both the same build. They're both skinny, long, tall. Well, not super tall for lightweight, but 5'10's pretty tall for lightweight, if we're being honest. I mean, you got some of these guys like Bahamondes that are just freaks of nature. Now I'm looking at Torres, who did get knocked out by Bahamondes, who is a freak of nature. The Drew Dober one, Drew Dober's washed. But before then, Chris Duncan, that's a good win. Nicholas Mata, not the best win. But, there's guys up here, whereas I look at Grant Dawson, and he loses to Bobby Green. How do you get knocked out by Bobby Green? Like, that's just bad, man. And if you get knocked out by Bobby Green, I can see you getting knocked out by Manuel Torres. Also, American white boys have fallen off. They've been losing. And they've been losing a lot to Brazilians and Mexicans. And like I said, Rafa Garcia was one that lost to Grant Dawson. But I just have a feeling that Torres is going to knock out Grant Dawson in the first round. I've already picked that. I'm manifesting it into existence. Strike accuracy, significant strikes, more. They're both switch hitters. Slightly more reach, similar age, similar. I'm going to favor El Chimichurri, Manuel Torres. Para esto, Terrence McKinney versus Chris Duncan, next fight. At lightweight, I'm picking Chris Duncan. I picked Mateusz Rebecki to beat Chris Duncan. I've learned my lesson. Chris Duncan can take some punches. He can take some heat. McKinney, yes, he submits Vyacheslav Borshev very easily, but Borshev's a bum. Borshev sucks. Before that, gets knocked out by Esteban Ribovic in brutal fashion with the head kick combo. I'm picking Chris Duncan to win this one. McKinney... Also, didn't McKinney get brutally kneed by one of the Bonfim brothers? I think it was. Yeah, it was not Gabriel, it was the other one. Brutally kneed and destroyed. Chris Duncan is going to get this one done. And I'm curious, which one was it? Was it Ismail? Is that his name? Yeah, Ismail Bonfim. That was that one. Submitted by Sadikov, knocked out by Ribovic. And then the fights that he does win, yeah, he gets some knockouts, but I don't think he's going to knock out Chris Duncan. Also, Chris Duncan apparently had a terrible childhood, so that's another factor. When people grow up in these horrible conditions, they usually grow up to be really good fighters. And that's something that I overlooked in the Rebecki fight, because I saw it was Scottish versus Poland. Poland, the Eastern European Warsaw Pact countries usually have a tough upbringing compared to the Western countries like Scotland. But Chris Duncan apparently had a really bad childhood. If he's telling the truth in his post-fight speech in that one, which I believe him. So I'm sticking with Chris Duncan. McKinney looks like the black guy that grew up in a white suburban neighborhood by adopted parents. So that's what McKinney reminds me of. So not a tough upbringing. And we saw that with Ribovic. Macy Barber versus Karine Silva. American white girl versus black Brazilian girl. 27 versus 32. I think Macy Barber is the favorite for this one. But fuck it, I'm going with Karine Silva. Macy Barber pulled out of her last fight with Blanchfield for reasons I can't even remember. It must have been like weight reasons. What's this division? Oh, it's flyweight. See, that's how I don't even care about women's fights. I'm going with Karine Silva. Brazilians are tougher than American white girls. Macy Barber probably grew up in a suburb. Like Terrence McKinney, they were probably neighbors. Karine Silva, she's got that mean, muggy look. Like, that is a black woman that you do not want to fuck with. I'm going with Karine Silva to punch Macy Barber in the tits, and that's that. Nazim Sadikov versus Fares Ziam. Sadikov was looking good in the Moda fight at UFC Baku. You got a Caucasus guy from Azerbaijan up against Fereziam, who's French, or is he? Because I did a little bit of research. He's not French. Come on, look at that. He's Algerian, a former colony of France. Now, I don't know much about Algerians, but they're far away from the Caucasus. The Muslims in North Africa and the Middle East aren't the same as the ones in the Caucasus. Why? Because the Caucasus is the birthplace of the Caucasians. I'm not going with Fereziam. 17-4, you got 4 losses. Sadikov's only had 1 loss. So just based on that, you can make an argument. It's like, okay, but Sadikov hasn't had many fights, true. Less reach, a little older. I'm looking at this build. He's taller, lankier. Sadikov's going to catch him. And he's going to knock him out. And this is a tough fight to pick. Very tough fight to pick because both guys are like on win streaks, I'm pretty sure. Aren't they? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big win streaks. Or Sadikov's had a draw like 2 years ago. It's not super active. But yeah, I'm just going to go with Sadikov by decision. Safe pick. Oh, no. Oh, no. Marvin Vettori. Marvin Mussolini, il Duce! Il Duce Marvin Mussolini! How is that even a fucking question? Against Bruno Ferreira. This is going to be the last time we see Marvin Mussolini. He's going to lose. Fuck. This is going to be his retirement fight, isn't it? I just feel it. Bruno Ferreira. Bruno Ferreira's alright. I'm a fan of Bruno Ferreira. He's had unfortunate losses against like Nursultan Ruziboev and forgot who else he lost to. But he's got some good wins too. He knocked out RoboCop in brutal fashion. And his last fight didn't make any sense. His last fight was against that McVeigh guy, the bum that loses to not Robert Valentine, the other guy that came in on short notice. Like, that fight didn't make any sense. But he made quick work of him, put him in an armbar, got him out of there fast. Are we going to see Marvin Vettori's chin finally cracked? Are we going to see the orc finally being slayed? That is the question. Or is it going to be a decision or submission? We've never seen him, like, finish before, man. But he sucks. The wrestling is piss poor. The striking is terrible. The fight IQ is non-existent because he's a fucking orc. The only thing he has is his chin. That big, giant Italian chin. Is it going to be cracked by Ferreira? If Ferreira went out there and knocked RoboCop out with, like, that single punch, he can do that to anybody. But I'm just going to go with Bruno Ferreira by decision. If not, submission. If not, maybe knockout. No, nobody's knocking out Vettori. I swear to God, if I'm watching this shit and I see Vettori starched out cold, I'm going to go crazy. But that's going to be it for Marvin. It's over. It's fucking over for my boy Marvin. And Bruno Ferreira's going to get it done. He's going to be a ranked fighter after this. Good. See how far he makes it. Probably not far, but that's that. The Tarantula's back against Edson Barbosa. And he's going to beat Edson Barbosa. Edson Barbosa's washed. When's the last time he won a fight? We're going to see vets retire, man. If Barbosa loses this one, they have to cut him, right? He just keeps losing. 39 years old. He's slow. He's not the same guy. Fuck. 2025 is that year. Jalen Turner's going to come back. I think he's going to knock him out. How the fuck does Jalen Turner make 155? How is that even possible? That should be illegal. That's not fair. If Dan Hooker can survive him, if Bahamondes beats him, well, Bahamondes is also a fucking 6'3" lightweight, so I don't know. But Jalen Turner's gonna beat Barbosa. And I don't know why he retired to begin with. It's kind of weird, but whatever. Iwo Baranevsky versus Ibo Aslan. The battle of the Iwo versus Ibo. I'm going with Polish power. Iwo Baranevsky, like, I know it's only 6 fights, and I don't like doing this. It's like, okay, you only had 6 fights before. That doesn't mean anything. But he literally knocked out Muhammad Ali. Okay? You don't believe me? Look at his record. He knocked out Muhammad Ali. The GOAT. Let me click it. Muhammad Ali, dude. In the Contender Series. Who is this black Brazilian who is really scary looking and buff and just knocks him out with a hook. He's got Polish power. Ibo Aslan has looked shit recently. Can't beat... what's the Native American guy who I mentioned before against Guskov? Elikana. Can't beat Elikana. Can't beat the Ian Kutelaba. How do you not beat Ian Kutelaba? Ian Kutelaba sucks, dude. Can't defend a takedown against Ian fucking Kutelaba. Oh, but you know who he does beat? The Indian variant Brazilian, Cerqueira, who just got brutally destroyed by Abdul Rahman Yakayev. He beats Rafael Cerqueira, therefore he's going to beat Polish power Iwo Baranevsky, who looks like he could be in the Wolfenstein game. No, dude, Iwo Baranevsky's going to destroy Ibo Aslan in the first round, and that's that. That's that. Ibo Aslan, Turks suck. Evet, ededir marş, evet. Fuck Turks. I don't know any Turks people. I love Turkish people, man. My sympathies to the Turks, but you have to pay for what you did to Constantinople. And this Polish Hussar Crusader is going to do that to you. He's going to do that to your boy. Because I know Ibo Aslan has a big following. He's big in Turkey. Because the Turks, they don't have guys of their own. Remember, Yakayev isn't Turk. Yakayev is Chechen. I don't know why he flies the Turkish flag, but he's a Chechen. Iwo Baranevsky is going to rain down on your little red flag parade. Evet. Mansur Abdul Malik versus Antonio Tricali. Antonio Tricali sucks. Another Indian variant Brazilian. Abdul Malik beats Cody Brundage. It wasn't a draw. It wasn't a no contest. He beat Cody Brundage. It was a knockout. Beats Nick Klein. Beats up some raggedy white American dudes. White American dudes also kind of suck now. The melanin points, on top of the fact of his physique, he has a very good physique for his division. Not the best technique and style, but I think he's going to destroy. I know he's going to destroy Antonio Tricali. Tricali's always been like one of the worst, shittiest middleweights. So, yeah, Malik is an easy pick. And Muhammad Naimov versus Myron Santos. Tajikistan versus Brazil. I'm going with Myron Santos. This picture doesn't really do him justice. He looks better and more fit, at least in his last fight that I remember. He looks very buff, very thick for the division. And I think he's going to beat Muhammad Naimov. Also, he's 17-1. Good record. 13-3. I mean, records don't really matter. But yeah, I don't... I'm looking at Naimov and it's like, yeah. Tajikistan isn't in the Caucasus. Now, Central Asia is like another good region of good fighters, but I'm not picking Naimov. Something tells me not to pick Naimov, so that's that. Those are our picks. If you fast forward this far, from the bottom, we got Santos, Abdul Malik, Baranevsky. I don't know how to say it. Baranevsky. Jalen Turner, Bruno Ferreira, Sadikov, Silva. And that's probably a stupid pick on my part. I know Macy Barber's the favorite, and I always usually pick the favorite fighters to win when it comes to women's fights. But the melanin points. The melanin points are going to come in clutch. And Silva's kind of big. She's a big woman for that division. Chris Duncan, the melanin points ain't going to save you, McKinney. Nope. You don't have that aura. Chris Duncan's going to fuck you up, and that's that. We're going with Torres to beat up Grant Dawson. Bogdan Guskov to destroy Jan Blachowicz in the grappling. It's going to be elder abuse, man. Should be illegal to watch. That's elder abuse. 43-year-old man. About to be 43-year-old man in Blachowicz. Payton Talbott is going to kick that little Mexicano across the border. No, I don't want to get banned. He's going to be so tall, dude. He's 5'10", like 5'11". He's a tall bantamweight. And Cejudo's so tiny. I think he's going to catch him with like a knee. That's going to like bust Cejudo's face open. That's kind of what I see happening. Moreno is going to beat Tyra. Pantoja, first round submission. And unfortunately, Dvalishvili is going to get another unanimous decision. And that's it. That's the card. That's UFC 323. The last major card of the year. And then a week after, we have Roy Val versus Cap, right? I think that's the main event. And then that'll be it for 2025. And then it'll be like 6 weeks until we get another UFC event. And that'll be 324 like at the end of January. It's going to be brutal. A 6-week layoff. No sustenance. Nothing. I'm going to be having withdrawals. I don't know what I'm going to do for those 6 weeks, but that's that. UFC 323, 100% right edition. I'm pretty confident in these picks. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, you motherfuckers. I'll be streaming this. Tune into the stream. That's all I got for this video. Peace out.